Hey everybody, welcome to my Saturday morning. Maybe your Saturday evening, depending on where you are in the world. It may be your Sunday early morning. No, and actually I don't think that's possible. It might be your Tuesday if you're just in like a different place in the universe. Anyways, I'm making a game. It's called the Godkiller. It's a 3D top-down puzzle-solving adventure game. If I say that too fast, it might become devoid of meaning. It might just be a bunch of syllables that come out of my mouth that I don't actually that aren't being said in a way that the person receiving it would understand it. Okay, it's a 3D top-down. The view's top-down all the time. Puzzle-solving. The main thing you do is like figure out solutions to puzzles. Adventure game. There's a story to it. There's stuff that happens. Alright, and these streams, I start out with a demo and then I get to work. So let's show a demo. I demo things that I recently completed. Yesterday I got a lot of help from one of the stream chatters, Digital Zombus. And it was a pretty hard task, hard bug, weird anomaly, and like he and I basically figured it out together. Alright, so let's play it. And this other stream chatter, Davey Sleaze, a nice weird Canadian guy that makes games himself. He pointed out that, you know, if you fall off a cliff, it's fun to see that you're falling. So I added a falling animation. And that's making me happy. It's real short. It doesn't need to be long. There's a few reasons for not making it much longer than that. If I make it longer, that means she's got to fall farther, unless I really slow down the rate of fall, which means my level design will have to have like a certain minimum distance from the ground before the animation will look correct. And I don't want to have to force myself to make really lengthy amounts of background 3D stuff in order to support that animation. Second reason is you want to get back to playing the game. No matter how cool I make that animation, you're not going to be watching it to watch it after you've seen it 100 times. So it's 1 second long. That's good enough. Alright. So it's Saturday, and this Saturday, like most Saturdays, I've got some part in the middle where I can't stream because I've got maybe some errands to run. Maybe I just want to make a little bit of brunch for my fam. And this Saturday is no exception. So I'm just going to start off a little unambitiously for this session and just do a grab bag, fix little bugs and problems and to-dos. And then I think I'll get a little more ambitious in the afternoon, evening session. I've got tomorrow too to continue my ambitiousness. And almost immediately I have to take a break from the stream, like right now, and I'll be back in probably about 5 minutes. And I'll get to work on grab bagging it. Alright. back to work. Alright, thing I noticed this morning, I was just looking at the game. I noticed the camera doesn't come to a complete stop, and it needs to. Have something that says we're done moving to the target location. So right now it's probably not doing it. Let's see. Alright, it's a little hard to see it on this lower resolution, and I can just barely see it at home on my screen. But there's a little bit of jiggle over here where my mouse pointer's at, and that's because the camera hasn't come to a complete stop. It's just, see if I can get it to be more pronounced. No, I'm not seeing it at all. Let me try again with maximize, and maybe it'll be more apparent. I need to be able to reproduce the problem so that I can fix it and then say I've actually fixed it. Well, see there? There it is. Okay. So it's broadcasting in such a way that you can probably see it over the broadcast. So there's jiggling here. There's like a shimmering effect. That is the camera. Well, that's my theory. It's the camera making very slight movements. It's got something like an orbit around the target where it overshoots it a tiny little bit and then it comes back the other way, but it's overshot again and then it comes back to the original position. Yeah, I think I can fix it by just getting the camera to stop moving once it's close. Once it's, sub-pixel close, which is definitely good enough. And it'll be nice to exit out of this update function early and quickly when I don't actually have to do any more calculations on where to arrive at. Okay, so let's create one more, call it think I can just yeah. Hey, Davey. I'm just grabbing some small bugs in tasks this morning. Trying not to bite off too much right now. And then in the afternoon, I'll work on something more ambitious. How's your game going? I was looking at the video, and it's looking like some sort of scary haunted ranch type of a thing. It's like a place I never want to go. There's a weird alien cow there, and there's a ghost of a cowboy, and holding your heart. You're gonna throw your heart at somebody or cast a spell. It's weirding me out. I have nightmares about it. Yeah. It made me happy, for real. Let's update camera target or set target. Set it there. It's different. Do you mind if I play your video on my stream? Okay. Yeah, it's definitely very surreal. I enjoy that kind of thing. So, yeah. Alright, let me see if this change I made... It's going to be hard to see it very easily. I better put some... bug statements in. They kind of go together. They're not the same person, but that same 80s weirdness. You know what it is? It's like if you... I forget how old you are. I think you're a younger guy. I could be wrong. But if you lived in the 80s, and I did, I was like a teenager, it felt like there was so much normal mainstreaminess that if you found something really weird, it was extra valuable. So now we've got the internet. You go out, you get whatever you want, and it caters to all kinds of niche tastes. And even there's things that are kind of niche-y, like Game of Thrones. Not everyone likes Game of Thrones, but there's still like enough people, and the distribution model is set up in such a way that they can, have these, $10 million episodes, or probably even more than that. But back in the 80s, you had network TV, and you had cable, but cable was expensive, and it wasn't like a given that everyone would have it. There's no internet. So there's like the same friggin' 4 channels to look at, and they catered to the broadest tastes. And if you saw something weird on it, it was like someone throwing like a life raft out to you. Twin Peaks, way too fucking weird for the 80s. Cronenberg, it was like that was a little bit of a different thing. Cronenberg was, okay, 80s you get VHS for the first time, and then your search for weirdness means picking up every tape at the video store and trying it out, paying $3 with very little information about what's on that tape, other than maybe there's some artwork on the front of it, like David Cronenberg movie is gonna have something strange on it on the front, like scanners or and then you read the back of it and there's some text, and that's it. That's your clue, and you just take a chance and you grab that video, you pay your $2.99 or $5.99, and you take it home, and you took like 4 other videos with it in case the first one sucked or the first 3 sucked, and at least you get one good one because you made some guesses there. And then Cronenberg is like some delightful weirdness in the middle of kind of a bland decade. So that's why I kind of think of David Lynch and David Cronenberg together. Yeah, well, so, with the weird games, if anything, video games are sort of like where TV was at in the 80s. They are a very common denominator, and part of it is to make a AAA game. It costs so much money and it's so risky that you have to make safe choices. So all right, let me see if I got this. Come on. I hit play, didn't I? Maybe I didn't. Are you gonna play? What are you doing? I must have console errors. I do. Okay. That face picker error is going to keep on bothering me. I'll get to that in a second. Okay. Yeah, there's a bug. What the hell? So it's never moving? It's never moving, okay. Let's go and try this again. So what should have happened is... Okay, so this, I got it reversed. That's all. Bad logic. So I'm looking for a shimmer off to the right here, which would indicate that the camera didn't come to a complete stop. I think I fixed it though. Cool. Alright, one little bug. One little bug done. Alright. Yeah, went through some craziness in the last session. I'm trying to get that to work. Alright, I'm gonna pick another small bug. Okay, the next one I want to do is when you win the game and you're ascending, I want it to put the camera above you instead of right on you. Yeah, there's a problem with that though. There's a problem with that. So the rules of the game are here. Let's get into it a little bit. And let me start this with being open-minded about, like, maybe there is some way to fix this. Okay, so the conflict is between showing that animation of them going over the side and also having them immediately reborn at the egg. So with the player, when the player goes over the side, it's kind of okay, because the player initiated the action. I can show the animation that has to do with what the player was just doing. But so I've very selectively violated the rule that the game should immediately keep going after the event. I said, okay, we can take 1 second to show the player dying before they're back in action. With these guys, if they die, they're reborn here, but there's no timing that causes. There's no timing to play with. Their actions are responding to your actions. So I can't, like, pause the whole game to show an animation of them. I could delay when they are born again. I could do that. I could say you won't be born until 1 turn after you died, because we have to use 1 turn to show a death animation for you. If I do that, then the budget I have for 1 turn is is based upon the amount of time that a player could press the key as fast as possible. So I go, and I timed it once. The fastest time is 10 times per second. Do maneuvers that coincide with the rules. They go off the edge with the respawn. Like maybe if I created an extra copy of them, so there's like one copy that shows the death animation and the other one is kind of instantly here. Well, I mean, I'm not sure what you mean. There are maneuvers. I mean, you can punch them and you can evade them. So him coming back here, I could delay it like one turn. If I did delay it one turn, then whatever animation I use to show... Yeah, you can punch him. You can also route them into spikes and other things too. If I delay their respawn by one turn, then the animation to show their death can use maybe 4 frames, because the reality that I'm showing the player has to be up to date when they are just moving as fast as possible. Like 10 times per second was what I came up with. And 10 times per second is 100 milliseconds. So I would have 100 millisecond animation. Yeah, I'm spending time agonizing over it because at some level you're right. Like, you want to see your enemies go over the side. It's fun, right? So I'm trying to think like what I can do here to actually accomplish that, because it is fun to see enemies fall off of cliffs. It's just like they have the best scene in a movie is where the bad guy just falls to his death a lot of times, you know. I could make the enemy trails a little bit better. So the trails are sort of my cheat for showing things that have already happened. Most of the animations that you see after you press a key are showing evidence of what happened, but the update has already been made to the current state in connection with that command. I think I'm going to need to do something with the enemy trails to make them a little better. There's not quite enough feedback. I have to acknowledge that, you know. It's maybe the regular death when you destroy them by punching them it's not bad. But going over the cliff, it's anticlimactic, I have to admit. Alright, I'm not going to decide on what to do there yet. Just going to add a little note. The other thing is punching enemies. It seems like it needs a bigger burst, particles, trails. Okay, so let me fix this other thing. Player ascended effect. I want some kind of offsetting. So let's say I tell you, C#, its constants are so limited and constrained. They're almost worthless. Half the time I gotta make a static variable. Static vector 3. See how that works. Okay, and this stupid shit, which always happens when Unity has to force quit. Let me see if I can find this. face picker too, huh? Alright. So now I'm going to go do the win level animation and see how my offset is working. Cool. Yeah, get some spooky cowboy action going on. Okay, so that offset, it worked, but it's not quite positioned in the best way. So let me think about that. I want it to be I think it was off like this. If I wanted it centered, it would probably come over 0.5, so we'll say x 0.5. And then z, the best z would be off this way a little bit. Let's say maybe 2 squares, 2 meters. I always forget if I'm going, alright, I'll just try it. Nice. It's the other way. I want to be able to turn off the trails, I think, while she's moving. Yeah, lighting's horrible for me. I want to say I'm done with it, but I feel like I'm not done with it. I did have a few breakthroughs where I figured out if I just... Yeah, well, the problem with the trial and error is that it takes forever to see the error. You have to wait, at least I do, I gotta wait about 10 minutes for a full bake to finish up. So it takes forever to get the lighting right because of that. Way too much trial and error, and I wouldn't mind the trial and error if I could just see the results of, if I could just see my errors quickly, and then I would fix them and adjust them. What's this? I'm not even calling this any place. But I should. Yeah, there's hand trails. That's kind of weird. Got this code line around, it's not being used. I think I had like a really cool hand trail effect for punching. All right. Yeah. Okay, so I got the trails here. There's another one here. Turn these back on, see what that looks like. Yeah, I think at one point I had like a nice little burst when you punch things. Let me see. Let me see what I got. It's still there. It's a little subtle. We should just make it really large. Try that. Yeah, that's more pronounced. I like that. This I'm pretty sure I never use. I just don't think I need this one. This isn't ever used. Yeah, I think I did pretty good with the sound effects. Yeah. Just doing a little fine tuning on it, and I think that'll be the end. What? Game object, and then find. What? Really? No. Okay, it's get component. Okay. Alright, Davey. Yeah. Yeah, go make some progress, buddy. Do it. Alright. Get component. shit. This stuff does get called. It's just not called by my code. It's called by the controller. Got it. Okay. I gotta add that emit trail point back in. Let's get it exactly to what it was before. I think it's... What is calling it? I don't understand. Oh, it could be the animation itself. Or the motion. What calls it? I just don't remember where it got called. I kind of remember, but I kind of don't. Anti-state. What is it? What calls it? Stand after exit behavior. Okay. Okay, so that's what calls it. What about that emit thing? Who calls this? I just don't get it. Nothing calls that. I just don't know what it is. Okay, the other thing I deleted was stand. That's going back in. On animation M left step. Okay. It's okay. I think it's in the animation itself. So let's look at that. Thought maybe there'd be something in the dope sheet that would show that. What's this? Events. Maybe there is an event. Is there an event? Oh, we'll first go to the right one. Left step. There we go. Alright, here's the events. Here they are. We got emit the main trail point. This one here. Stand. Got it. Hey, see? Oh. Yeah, Saturday morning. It's one of my favorite things to be doing on Saturday morning is working on my game. Boom. Alright, so I could call hide all trails from my ascend animation in an event. Don't have to call it from that other code. But you know what? I think I prefer calling it from my code as opposed to an animation, unless it really needs to be timed. Platforms I'm going to release it on. So unambitiously, to start, Windows and Mac, desktop. And then I'll expand from there. I tried to make design decisions early on that would be console friendly, but I don't want to act like I'm going to go right onto consoles. I'll release to Linux if it's easy. I just don't see a lot of users there. So if it's not too hard, I'll release to Linux as well with the desktop versions. The earlier game I made, Drawed, a long while back, I was always plagued by how it was going to be impossible to convert it over to console because the control system demanded a keyboard. And this one, on purpose, I made it so the control system could be translated to a regular controller for a console. Alright, so let's see. Did I get rid of my animation errors? Yes. Okay, cool. Okay. That's good. Alright, so this morning I'm doing a grab bag because I'm gonna have to break after, I don't know, maybe an hour or so to do some brunch and run some errands. So I'm doing small bug fixes and to-dos. And then later on in the afternoon, I'll try to bite off something a little more juicy. Okay, finished all that. in the overall development, I'll show you my graphic. So this is the overall everything I gotta do for the game to get it released. So I'd say I'm at 25%. I break this into 4 parts. The engine is about 1/3 of all the work. The content is another 1/3 of the work. Business may be 1/6 of the work, and then this unknown box, which is just things I discover along the way that I have to do. And then when I get solidly past the release point, this unknown box sort of shrinks down to nothing. So right now I'm focused on the engine. The point of doing the engine first is that there's less go back and fix things in all of the levels type work when you're making the content if the engine is pretty friggin' complete. Things like lighting, you don't want to have to keep on adjusting as you add new elements. The other reason for doing the engine first is that I can get to a point where I've done all the risky work and the only thing left is to generate content and integrate it with the game. That is a great time to go to a publisher and try to make a deal. Say, look, I got this, I've done all the risky stuff already. I've got a solid bug-free engine. Here's a first level demo. Then I roll out my resume credentials and how I'm used to managing teams and stuff like that, and say, all that's left is a straightforward addition of content, and give me some money and I'll put it together. So that's the kind of pitch I could be in a good position to make if I get my engine to 100% and have a decent first level experience to show to people. I'd say yes to that. I'd say yes. Except that right now the level editor is Unity. There'd be a fair amount of work to make an in-game level editor. I could maybe set up some kind of modding kit that's based on creating levels in the correct way. Yeah, exactly. I could do what Portal 2 did, or Valve did with Portal 2. So they came out with the editor, and the editor didn't let the player change everything and make levels that had all the nice cosmetics and ambient things in it. It was fairly limited as a sandbox. It let you put all the elements in different squares, but you couldn't go and do a whole bunch of 3D modeling stuff like you could see in the main games. It's actually not a bad way to divide things up. So like there's stuff like these buildings, for example, that wouldn't go in the level editor. They're just like cosmetics of the world. They're best edited inside of Unity. But some kind of thing that was just made up of I don't know, the area inside here without any special cosmetics to it. Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's yeah. But you're right. That would be a good type of thing to add after the game is somewhat successful. And I did this before with Drod. I'll show you the result of the level editing features inside of Drod. So, the community that sprung up around Drod. Let me see, a good way is if we show the hint guide. Okay, so on this forum for this other game I made, you say get help for a room. Okay, so the help system actually lets you pick which hold or level collection. That's what hold means. It's a level collection. Here are all of the level collections that people made and published. I'm scrolling through so many. Now each one of these is not just one level, it's a collection of levels. So I'll just pick one. Let's see. So this is just one person's level, or no, there's actually 3 levels inside of this hold, and each level is actually got inside of it different rooms, and each room is like something you might spend 30 minutes to 2 hours on. Okay, so that's just one person's, maybe this whole thing that this person did is 20 hours of playtime on average. That would be pretty much on average. So you look at this list and you think like every single one of these is 20 hours of playtime on average. This is the first page. That's like 1,000 hours of playtime. Second page, another 1,000 hours of playtime. 3,000 hours of playtime. 4,000 hours of playtime. We're in the F's. Yeah. So, I mean, I love the player community adding stuff into the game. And like back in the 90s, we had this. We had all this stuff going. Just give you another taste of like how deep it got. Go to the forum. Exactly. All right. So there's a somewhat formal process that people go through when they create their content. So they'll create these level collections called holds, and then they post about them on this board, and they post about them kind of like it's like a beta program. So again, here's 54 pages. Each one of these pages has got, like 20 topics in it. Each topic is one person's beta program. So you go into like escort mission, and then this is like all the feedback and testing and fixing and correcting coming from this process of releasing your hold to this community before it's done. So it's amazing what happened here with this game. It's just crazy. There's like this sort of collegiate atmosphere about putting all these puzzles together inside the game. And I'm honestly, it sounds like I'm bragging about myself, but it's more just kind of feeling like Tyler Durden in Fight Club, where you find out one day that like thousands of conversations have been had and plans have been made that you had nothing to do with, but yet like at the beginning of it you set the foundation for it, but it got out of control. It was like out of your hands. It's delightful. It's this whole energy and activity. It has nothing to do with me other than that I started out and made some of it possible. So I'm really grateful to the players in the Drod community, and I would like to have that kind of energy around the Godkiller too, and it would need something like a level editor. So I think it's very plausible that it would be included. It would just not be one of the first release things. And you're right, it's a well-suited game to have a level editor for. Okay, so what else should I try to bite off on this session? Let's see. We do a few Paradise things. Let me look at my to-dos in the source code. I don't think I need this one. I think I can take this one out. I'm going to take that out. So this makes sense. Let's see. We want quaternions for each DC, each of 6 potential directions for the deltas. Just do this one. Alright. So the idea here is I'm going to pre-calc these one time so I don't have to keep on calcing them each time that I plot out a trail. It's a little bit of premature optimization, but I think it's the right thing to do, and it's not going to take me long. Oh, for your web project, like the Korean conversation trainer. Yeah, yeah. What do you end up picking for your stack? Yeah, my heart's not broken if you didn't want to use React. It's no big deal. The Mern stack. I gotta see what that is. Interesting. See, now this is going to help you too, because you had stuff where you wanted some kind of server-side support, I imagine. So that makes sense. You got your database and Node backend. Because React wouldn't give you anything for that. You'd have to go find that someplace else. Oh, I see. You are going to use React for front end. Mern doesn't cover that. Mern's more covering the back end. Okay. Yeah. I don't know anything about Mern. I'm just learning about it for the first time. This is kind of nice. This is a nice simple way to create your database. A lot of times you'd have a separate administrative task to set up the database and some scripts that would run like in SQL or something to set it up. Seems like you can just do it more declaratively inside of your code here. So I'm guessing there's no schema for the database. Like you just insert your object into it. I think I've gotten a little out of touch with database stuff. I think that's standard no SQL type of a thing. There are schemas. Okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a good approach. Looks pretty simple. This Myrna thing. Mern. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it goes for you. If you ever want to drop a link at some time to demo your website, let me know. Been learning like all sorts of things from people joining in on the stream. This other guy came in the other day and he said, "Your notes are slurring." And I'm like, "What? My notes are slurring? What? Like a racist slur? What are you talking about?" I mean, educated me. A slur, it's just when you slide from one note to another without a break in the first note. It's like, whoa, instead of wah, wah. Right. All right, Z. This one I can get rid of. Make my code simpler. Never called. I like deleting code. Let's see if I screwed it up. Looks good. That all works as before. Let's just save that. Nah, don't need it. Yeah, I said songs are stereo, assertion below fails. Do I want to use speech clips for songs though? That might be my big project for this weekend is to get the music stuff in. Alright, hold on, be right back. Alright. So okay, so I'm just thinking about this a little bit. Me too, I just went to the restroom. We both got back. So I'm thinking about music now, and I think that'll be my weekend big job. Weekends I get to pick something that has a little more scope to it. Stop chunk eye is never used. I love this ID. It's showing me all kinds of stuff. This line of code, it's not used. I guess I don't need it. This else doesn't have to be here because up above it's got a return. It's pretty good linting. Loudness set, never used. Okay, that's my rules. If I'm not using the code, I delete it. I can always go back to it if I want to. Okay. So I think I'll use the rest of this session to start my music design. And then when I come back in my second session of the day, I'll start working on the music. So, music. My requirements. Play a song clip that is loaded with level. I think that's what I want. Let's say loaded. Play a song clip in response to, let's see, triggered by level load. What else do I need to do? I need to be able to duck song volume when speech occurs. Set music key when it changes in song. Other, let's see, melodic sound effects adjusted. What else? I need to be able to fade song out without completing looping. vocals in song can have timed face animation by zooms. Vocals in song can have timed appearance of karaoke lyrics. Play a song, click triggered by in-level event, level control. Alright, quite a lot there. So my first solution, I mean, I should actually break this down into a number of parts because it's large. I'll start putting out one solution. I'll probably suggest ways to break it out. Okay. Use sound effects, manager, load, load and play a sound effect. Level controller handles playing songs. That's probably what I'm going to do, actually. That part's probably the easy one. That handles both of these. It handles ducking the volume. I think it handles ducking the volume. Not quite. Not quite. So you probably want to have another layer on top of this. Song manager. Handles loading songs, ducking, fading out, setting music key. I'll say let's see. Calling notification methods in response to song events. Okay, song event. Should be song event or music event. I've used the word music in one place. Maybe this should just be music. Music is more general, but it implies that if I'm going to distinguish from songs, that maybe more than one song could play simultaneously, or that there might be some other things besides playing the song that it does. I think I'll go for the narrower scope of Song Manager. don't want to say loading. I want there to be some kind of function you call it. Just play a song and then it implies that it'll be loaded and then Song Manager will load it. Okay. For storage of the songs, they will be addressable resources for songs. One is an OGG or WAV. Let's say WAV. WAV and sound. Let's see, how do I have that organized? I think I've got audio. I don't know why audio point is here. Can't remember. Okay, so it'd be audio songs. And then what do I use? I could use the lips format again, because that would have fucking stinging bugs on my window. Glad there's a window between me and them. But it creeps me out. The sheer variety of bugs that are like bouncing against my window. I see beetles. I see spiders. I see bees, hornets, wasps. A lot of things in the wasp and hornet family that I don't know. I can't identify them all. It like freaks me out that there's so many different types and they're all near me. So stinging insects, I got them. All right. Then a text-based event file. Alright, so then let's think about that. So I've got lips files already. Lips files Z, if you're still on Z, the thing I was showing you yesterday with the animation of the lips, that web-based tool, that saves a file called a lips file, which I designed a while back. Let's see what that looks like. So I might want to use it to store other things. Alright. Dot lips. So it just looks like this. Got an implied frame rate to it of 24 frames per second. I don't know. I don't think there's any use in editing these two things together. The key changes and the visemes, putting them all in one place, it's not going to make anything easier in editing them. I think I'm better off with a new format for specifying the key changes inside of the music. So I'm thinking about the way I would figure out the keys. I'd go to Logic. I'd open up my file. I can see I'm in C major here. If I come over here, does it ever change? Is this about one key for the whole song, or is it reflective of what's selected? Be nice to just use this if I could. Let me see if I can find one that's got key changes. I don't know if it's actually looking at this to get the C major. On the other hand, I might just naturally pick C major as a default thing, so maybe this is C major. Let me see. C, F, G sharp. Okay, so C, F, G sharp is C. C, D, E, F. And what's this last one? It is G sharp. So, okay, it doesn't have a nifty way to just tell me quickly what the pitch is. I gotta figure out my workflow for this, because this could be a lot of work if it's done the wrong way. If there's some way that I can just get an analysis of these notes that tells me what key I'm in at any point, that would be the way to do it. Is there like an export on this that would be in some readable format? Music XML. That sounds promising. Hey! What's going on? I'll see what this looks like. Final Cut Pro XML. See what this XML format looks like. What I'm looking for is some kind of easily parsable description of all the notes in the song that I can analyze programmatically to come up with the musical key at each point in the song, and from there convert that to a different file format which says what key the music is in at any point in the song, and from that load that into my game and say at any point in time, here's what key we're in, play all the melodic sound effects in the same key. So let me look at this file format that I just got. Output here. Documents, Godkiller, GK. Let's see, work assets, songs. Okay, so what do we got? We got definition of samples. Not much here though. Like, it doesn't have the melody stuff. It's got these aren't samples, these are expected outputs of tracks, which are just a bunch of audio clips, and there's no notes in this export, so that's not going to be helpful. I could process MIDI, I could parse MIDI. I've never worked with MIDI as a file format, but it is well understood. It's not proprietary. It will have all the notes in it. Okay, C# MIDI parser. Yeah, MIDI file format is just ancient. Okay, yeah, I mean, this is it. So I have a MIDI file. Then I use something simple like this, some pre-written parser. Okay, and then I would just go through and group the notes. No, you know what I think I would do? I would read the notes in the events one at a time. And I'm assuming they would all come in sequentially in this format. And then as soon as there is a key change in a note, I would output some kind of event for that key change. And the first key change, or the first two key changes, might be bullshit. I might have to coalesce I might have to sort of consolidate the original key changes at the beginning with maybe the third or fourth note. Yeah, I think there has to be some logic that's kind of like, if there's one note that plays and it could be in multiple keys, because you don't have enough information, you don't have 3 or more notes that would define one key, then you keep track of all the keys it could be. Maybe even assign a confidence score to each one. Then in the second pass, solve for all the notes that are potentially in more than one key. And pick the option that would result in the least amount of key changes. So if I start out and I play just the note C by itself, there's actually, I don't know, maybe there's like 6 different keys that use the note C. But if the second note is E, C and E, I've narrowed it down to maybe a couple different keys. Maybe there's four keys that use those 2 notes. And then if I go on to the third note, I think that's just C major. I think that would have narrowed it down. So yeah, I think I'm writing some code that is going to figure out keys from MIDI. But that also seems like the type of thing that somebody would have written already. So I'm going to look for that too. See, MIDI detect key. MIDI detect chromatic scale key. Oh, and now I'm saying C sharp, and I've mixed domains. So if I do a search for C sharp, and I'm also talking about music and keys, well, C sharp is a musical key as well as a programming language. So I'm unlikely to get anything that's like a code. But I'll add detect. Must include detect. C sharp library. Alright. I don't know if I'm going to find some ready-made thing that is going to detect all the keys for me in MIDI. That's also in C#. I'm probably best served to, use a MIDI parser, but write my own key detection code. So going back to my overall design, separate project, tool that reads a MIDI file and outputs key change events. Okay, so that's an edit time thing. Do I want to make it a separate project? Doesn't have to be. It could just be an edit time tool that builds out. I've already got assembly definitions that will make it so that well, if the C# MIDI toolkit performs a key change analysis, I'm interested. If it's just parsing, that's fine. I found a pretty simple library already that looks like it could just parse it. But let's take a look though. C# MIDI toolkit. That sounds. This might be a good parsing library too. It's got MIT. I always like that licensing. Yeah, this seems like a little more than I want, and not as far as having a UI and everything. The other one was kind of like a snippet. This one seemed pretty simple to me. So just as a parser, I'd probably use this. If there was something that actually did analysis to find the keys in the MIDI. So by keys, I mean, you know, when you play like 3 notes together, that makes one key. That's one key. It's another, you know, stuff like that. Algorithm is something like exclude certain tracks that are non-melodic for each So I'm going to finish up this session in about 5 minutes because I got to go run some errands. and then I'll start again after I get back and maybe have a lunch or something. Okay, so for each MIDI event, record a time and store a time and possible keys that note could be in at that point. In the second pass, call this key events. In the second pass, look at key events and try to pick simplest, not simplest, pick combinations of keys that result in least amount of key changes. I'll put to a file format like (0f) equals C major. What? I already have like something like that. Let me see. Audio, music key. Alright, C major. See, I'll use all these. Something like that. Something real simple like that. Also, I shall be thinking also like about that karaoke events too. Song, let's do like that. Song file or song events. Also, I kind of wonder, is there such a thing as like a MIDI key change event? Problem is the use of this term key. There's so many things that it could refer to. It's hard to Google search on it. Doesn't help that C# is also the name of a note, as well as the programming language I'm interested in. So a key could be a key on a keyboard. A key could be like a computer science key, and a key could be a chromatic scale key. Okay, so I don't have anything built into the MIDI format for storing those. These key changes. Let me look at something else. MIDI message. The other thing I want to track is like lyrics. MIDI events karaoke text. Alright, so I could do Nah. It just won't be that hard to add it myself. Okay. I could use lips, the lips format for outputting the karaoke. And I can use my existing web-based editor for that. That's pretty good for that. I'll use song. Let's just call this song key. Let's not pretend it's got everything in it. It's just going to have the song key. And it won't be manually edited. usually won't be manually edited. Usually it'll be just output by this utility. Okay. Yeah, I think on the other side of this, I'll start working on this utility that finds the key. SOL, shit out of luck, you mean? SOL. Hey, Funky Monkey. SOL in what context? MIDI? Oh, okay. Yeah, it was cut off. SQL. A little bit. What are you trying to do? Joins, selects, updates? Yeah, it's funny. The little tail of the queue got cut off in the chat window output that I got. Anyways, I'm about ready to take off from the stream to handle some errands. But if you just throw me a quick question, I'll try to answer it. Yeah. So a foreign key is going to be an identifier of a record in a table other than the one that you're in. So let's give an example. So you got table 1. It's got well, let's give it a name like books, and another one we'll call it bookshelf. We'll say each bookshelf gets a bookshelf ID. Each book gets a book ID. These are primary keys, and then they've got some other fields, book name, or let's see, title, author, etc. Bookshelf, it's got like, I don't know, bookshelf name. Okay, then you'd say you want to have some way to associate the books, one book, with a bookshelf. So you'd say, let's give it a foreign key. We'll say this book belongs to this certain bookshelf. That's where it's going to go. So we get the foreign key here. So this is your foreign key. This is your primary key. In this other table, bookshelf ID is not a foreign key, it's a primary key. Okay, so then your question is, why do we have the foreign keys if we specify which columns to join on join? So if I'm writing a select statement, select title from books where books bookshelf ID equals bookshelf ID. But I think I might be seeing your point, actually. So if I said this by itself, it seems like that would be enough. I mean, you could also say, from books, bookshelf, or bookshelves, if I'm going to stick with plural, bookshelves. So then the question would be like, isn't it redundant to also have a join statement? God, that is a good question. It seems like if I was making like a new SQL, I might want to avoid that extra syntax. It's like, isn't this enough? I can think of maybe some cases where it's useful to have that join. So there's specifiers on the join, like inner join or outer join, left join, right join, that say what to do when there's no match. So okay, imagine that you've got some books that aren't in the shelves. So you've got some books that have bookshelf ID is null. Okay, so if you say okay, you know what, this first example is a little bit wrong. This where statement doesn't say what the join. It doesn't express the join. It expresses the criteria to me. So you could say bookshelf ID equals let's say we're looking for actually the name. Bookshelf name equals fiction bookshelves. Okay, so now there's not enough information. Like, we don't know how to connect books and bookshelves. It could be kind of implied if SQL was smart enough to say, well, these two fields have the same name and this is specified as a primary key. There's nothing in SQL that says this is a foreign key other than like definition of indexes. So there's not quite enough information. It would have to be presumptuous to say that this field is going to join the bookshelves record. So this by itself is not quite enough. You have to say the join. I forget the exact syntax, but bookshelf ID. Something about bookshelf ID. I'm not going to remember that syntax. But the join statement says how the two tables are connected. The where statement says what criteria am I looking for to select the records. And there's an interesting thing too, like if you want to say include all the records that don't have a connection, they don't have a bookshelf ID assigned, but you still want to have the join. You could say bookshelf ID equals null, and that would give you like your unshelved books. But this where statement is your criteria for selecting from the overall set, and then the join says like how the two tables connect together. And that's the two separate concepts right there. Okay, I hope I maybe helped a little bit, but I gotta take off. So I'm gonna stop the stream and wish you the best of luck with your SQL problem. And Z, I'll catch you later. Cool. Stay funky, monkey. Stopping the stream. Stop the stream.